Michelle from Color Me Happy Fiber Art Studio, and you can see I'm not in the studio today, but it is the beginning of January 2025, and although I'm not a New Year's resolution type person, I do like to take time at the beginning of the year to kind of reflect on my making, what we've been doing, and then where we're going this year. And so I thought it would be fun to share some of that with you. And I've asked Linda to do a separate little video so that you can get to know each of us a little bit better. So a little bit of background for me. I am a retired psychology professor and now full-time natural dyer at Color Me Happy. I have been a knitter almost my entire life. So since I was about 8 years old, I think, is when I first started to learn to knit. My aunt was having a baby and I wanted to make a little blanket for my cousin Marcus. And so I kind of knit on and off throughout the years. And I think it was around, I don't know, maybe about 10 years ago or so, I became a lifestyle knitter where I knit pretty much all the time. And then a few years ago, we were fortunate enough to go back to France, where my relatives are from, and to learn more about my genealogical history. And I have ancestors who were weavers, and so I wanted to learn more about weaving. And during that time, I worked with a weaver there and got to go to his studio once or twice a week for the entire 6 months that we were there. So I learned a lot about weaving and about different fibers, and started learning at a different level how yarns work together. And then during the pandemic times is when I started learning about dyeing and natural dyeing and spinning and making my own yarn. So I love all things fiber arts. And I think this year, my overarching goal for the year is to really be more intentional about my making. Because I love doing all the things, it's easy for me to get excited about the shiny new project that I want to cast on, or and I do have a lot of work in progress or unfinished objects, UFOs, in different places in my house. So this year I'm going to try to be much more intentional about my making. In terms of the dye studio and what we're doing with our natural dyes, one thing that I'm doing this year is taking a MAIWA class on the chemistry of natural dyeing, and so I'm really excited about that, to learn more about the why behind the colors and how things work at a molecular level, to really be able to better use our dye materials more efficiently and plan our colors more intentionally that way. So that's one thing I'm really looking forward to in terms of the dye space. In terms of my knitting, my first goal is to finish the 3 sweaters that are on my needles now. They're in various stages of doneness. One has one sleeve done and I'm working on the second sleeve. Another one, I'm on the bottom ribbing, and then I'll have 2 more sleeves to go. And the third one is another colorwork sweater. I started it and I don't really like it, so I'm going to frog it back and start it over again. So those are the 3 things that I currently have that I want to finish. Another thing I'd like to do this year is to complete one UFO, so one of my unfinished objects. Every 2 months, I'm going to pick a new project and try to finish it. So the first project I'm going to finish is a vest that I crocheted from a bunch of mini skeins. And It's so cute. I really love it, but I got to the end where I need to do the edging and weave in all those ends, and so I put it aside thinking I would come back to it, and it's been years. This was before I started dyeing our own yarn. So I'm going to try to finish that, and then I'd like to pick a new project and always be working towards finishing one of those UFOs along with my regular knitting. Then another knitting goal I have is to make myself a Christmas holiday sweater. And I was watching another podcaster the other day, Svenja Knits, and she said almost the exact same thing I'd been thinking about, is that I knit all these sweaters and I love holiday sweaters with the color work, but I've never made myself one. So I would definitely like to do that. In terms of a skill, I would like to do more cable and texture work this year. So I have been doing a lot of stranded color work, and I love color. Color me happy, right? So everything I do usually has lots of color in it. But I'd like to spend some time working on textured things. And the holidays, I gave my stepmom a sweater, and my husband said to my dad, shouldn't she be making us sweaters next year? So I'm not sure that I'll be doing that, but maybe a vest. And that would be perfect for cables and textures, I think. And then the last knitting goal I have is to make a toy. So a few years ago, I did do some of those little gnomes, and I'll show a picture. I did some of those gnomes, and those were a lot of fun. And I made those for all the students that worked with me at the time and some of my friends. But I haven't really done toys since then. And I love those Carruthers? No, I'm not going to remember her name. And I was at knitting group this week, and a couple of the people there were talking about the toys they've been making, and so I joined one of those Facebook groups, and I'd like to do that this year. And then in terms of spinning, I do have a spinning goal, well, 2 spinning goals. First I should say, I am in a 100-day stash down activity with Jillian Moreno in her Patreon group, and that's just a fun thing to join. Between December 1st and that 100 days, you try to use up as much of your spinning stash and commit to not buying new fiber. And so I am doing that, but I was gifted more fiber over the holidays, and so I have even more stash to spin down. But one thing I'd really like to do is a breed study of my own. I was gifted some fiber from Sweet Georgia Yarns that has different breeds in it, and then a few years ago I bought one of those breed studies that comes with 1 to 2 ounces of different breeds. And so what I'd like to do, so I have that here, yep, okay. My plan is to pick 1 fiber a week and read about it in my Fleece and Fiber source book that I just love. I use this all the time, Debbie Robeson and Carol Icarius. So I'm going to take 1 type of fiber, read about it, spin it up, and then what I'd like to do is knit it, or maybe crochet, but I'm more of a knitter, little squares, and then make a blanket out of it. So that is my big spinning goal for 2025. All right, so what are your goals for 2025? What do you see yourself making this year? Share below in the comments, and we look forward to seeing you again soon. Thanks. Bye.